After living a few years in San Francisco, I find myself wondering sometimes how the city might look if it had a street system that paid a little bit more respect to the topography of the city. So what I've done here is I've recreated the San Francisco map, or rather edited the map, in order to get rid of some of the major highways growing through and give it more of like a rural vibe. And gotten rid of like these bridges here. This is where the Golden Gate Bridge would be, and the Bay Bridge would be out here. The reason I've gotten rid of those and then made a smaller highway system is that I think it just makes more sense when you're starting out a city to start with like reasonably sized infrastructure, and that way you can upgrade it over time, and I find that to be kind of a fun way to play. So yeah, that's the general inspiration for this build, is just rebuilding San Francisco in a way that pays homage to what's there now, but then also kind of updates it. But yeah, that's the general premise, is building on the hills with the topography in San Francisco rather than kind of against it and just plopping down a grid, which is what happened. Is a lot of the street system is just one big grid. Like these hills are just completely gridded, and it makes traversing them by like foot kind of difficult, and also some hills are too steep for buses on some streets because they just go straight up hills. With that, I'm going to start with kind of the main street, which in San Francisco is Market Street. And I want to have a similar thing going on here, and the orientation of it is going to be based on kind of like this hill here. Then I want it to be going out towards the water, and yeah, I want it to be pretty flat. So like you can kind of see, maybe like right here makes sense, where there's not much grading going on. There's only 0.5% increase, and then it goes out directly towards the water. So that's one option, and it kind of follows this contour line of the hill. It goes around this one as well. So I think I will go with something like that, and I want to make sure I can actually get it in here. So that's our first road. The other thing I want to think about is having another connection over here to the highway, so that it's not just one big cul-de-sac in our city. While I know this highway here is not going to last forever, like I want it to be kind of a central street, or at least to break up the grid in some way. Eventually the highway I'll do something similar to what exists now, which is bringing the freeway up here and then having a bridge that inclines up on this hill and then goes over here. But that's a long ways away. So for now, I'm just gonna kind of ignore that. Bring this in kind of where it has 90s everywhere and comes out at like, yeah, in a reasonable way. So bring that out there. I know that wants to go in that direction. And I mentioned like having grids on top of hills in San Francisco, and that's something I try to avoid doing. This area here though is actually like, is very conducive to having a grid. So I will basically just plop down a grid like right here, and that'll be the initial start for our city. And then I want to put the industrial over in this area here. And I think that is generally reminiscent of what has gone down in San Francisco in the past in terms of city planning. You'll notice I kind of just sent this in at this off angle, and the reason I did that is because I know that Market Street, the way I want to set it up, is just going to continue straight here. So I didn't want to like have some weird angle and have to build around that. So I'm kind of building for the future Market Street to go out here. And then this one's a 90 because I expect more freight traffic to be coming through here, and that's because the industry is going to be out here. So the first thing I want to do is set up kind of a second major street through here. And I think where I want that to go is kind of like obviously parallel or perpendicular to this road, but then I want it to reach out into this area here so that you can get easily from this main street over to this area here. I want to avoid putting any roads like across this water here. I want to preserve this area as a natural area for as long as possible. So I want to think about like how this street comes in here to make kind of good use of the space. And you can kind of see there's a natural grid forming here on this like kind of rectangular piece of land. So I want to come in such a way that it makes that easy. I think something like this. We want to be relatively close here. So let's go like this. Leave some space. Go like that. So I know that's going to go there. And then as long as we don't come up against two, yeah, we're not going to come up against that hill really. So I go here. And then I want to bring it in around this hill. So right about here. Right there. And then I want to swing it in like that. See, are we close enough? So that's 78 meters. And this is a good way to draw out good curves, is you use the simple curve tool. You go out the distance until you reach the 90-degree angle and the center line of that other road. See that it says 78 meters. Click. And then you want to go an additional 78 meters. You can kind of see that it's going between 74 and 80. 80 will be fine, but that's how you know you're getting like a uniform curve, at least for the most part, since it was actually 80. But and then I actually want to redraw this street out so that it's using this point as its anchor point for creating the grid cells. Yeah, because you can see it already kind of does things like that. So we'll get rid of that. Then just continue this on as far as we want. Yeah, there. So now we get the perfect grid cells. So that's that taken care of. I took a look at the grid size in San Francisco, and it's about, I think it's 420 feet by 275 feet, which translates somewhere to, I think it was about 86 meters and around 130, 140. I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to obviously change it up a little bit just because of the limitations of the game, but also I don't want to do it exactly. So I think what I'm going to do is go out 104 possibly, so that I can have an alley. Give a 1 cell gap here so that when you put in a road like this in the center, you have an even number on either side. And then the distance over that I want to go is 152, and that just gives kind of a similar shape to the grid in San Francisco. And we'll go ahead and bring this out. This is kind of like, this is where 52. This is where I want the kind of like center of the city to be starting there. So that's kind of our central district here. We could even go continue up or change this grid somehow to go up the hill, but for now we're going to start on this side building because it's very flat. So I'll just go ahead and extend this out a little bit. Okay, then I want to figure out where this street will meet up with our street system that we have over here. And I mentioned this being kind of a natural area. I actually do think a bridge over here is probably not necessary now, but will be in the future. And because of that, debating whether to put it in now or later, but I do think let's plan for it. Let's plan for it being there. Let's start building as if it is there. Then over here, I want to think about a similar thing. Like we have this kind of main thoroughfare, and then I want to have another one that is going to be connecting up over here. And No, I said I like want this to be a main street. I think we may need a second one, which would be probably here. We get over here, maybe. Yeah, the reason I'm picking this one actually is because you can see if we go here, hitting this. So if we go here, right alongside this area here, and we own these tiles as well, so that's important. I'm gonna bring this out like push as far as I can on that grid line, and I'm actually gonna rethink the way I did this. Yeah, that is exactly what I wanted. And we're gonna have to move this a little bit, that's okay. I wonder if I can actually just like link up to this. That'd be cool. Try it. Cool, so that comes in there. Generally like what's going on there. So we have movements all throughout here. I think I'm gonna avoid connecting streets into this one before this intersection so that this becomes kind of like our priority intersection. And I may do the same as it gets all the way over here. So this road becomes essentially like a little mini local arterial. Okay, and then I'm gonna fill out a little bit more. Actually, I think it makes sense to just get started with the city and see a little bit about what's developing out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Yeah, so I think we'll start with that. Like these won't necessarily be connected neighborhoods yet. This is fairly long here, but I think it just makes sense to get zoning. It's generally a good idea, and I'm gonna go ahead and delete these so that I can get everything filled out the way I want it to be. So I know this is going to be a pretty prominent commercial area, so we'll start delineating that right away. I'm actually going to unpause so these things start building in. And I already know that there's a mistake I'm making right now, but I will rectify that in a second. Do that. The mistake I was talking about is I do want to have power in this place, and I also want to make sure I have water. So we'll start with water since it's easy. I'll do that, and then I'm going to bring it around just so we have some redundancy. Maybe not. Okay. In the future, I'll probably connect that. Actually, you know, it's pretty pointless because I'm going to urbanize that road pretty quickly, I think. So we'll do that. That's fine. But the power, yeah, I want this to be probably like right in here, actually. It would connect. There we go. I think right there, I'll come up against space constraints pretty quickly, which I don't love, but I think right there is okay. Yeah, that's cool. Nice, okay. So that's those two figured out. That was important. Start getting the residents in, and then start filling out their jobs. I'm gonna go ahead and just some big blocks going in places where I'm pretty confident that there will be residential, which is these areas right here. And industry. Yeah, so I know, like, I don't want to front it, the industry on this road necessarily. Like, I think even having some commercial there might be okay, but yeah, I'm not really wanting to front too much right here if I can avoid it for as long as possible, at least. Eventually you get to a point where you kind of can't do that, but Actually, right here, this is kind of a cool opportunity to make use of an alley just right away. And then do something like this. Yeah, that's good. I'd like preferably they also wouldn't be fronting this road. I think at least this one I'd like to not have doing that, which might be hard. There we go. And just for now, yeah, nice. Okay. Yeah, so now we got this little alley. I almost like don't want to connect it up all the way in, just because it kind of puts a little bit too much pressure on this area right here, the network. That is a problem I'll solve later if I need to, actually. Yeah. Cool. The next thing I can see, we need more commercial, and I think I want to start spreading it out maybe this way, but I think putting it here might also make sense, having a similar thing going on. And yeah, just like this is kind of the name of the game right now, is playing a little bit of whack-a-mole, get the houses in the right shapes that I want if I can, if at all possible. There we go. Yeah, so sometimes you have to do those little things. See, I made this alley after the fact. Really don't know how necessary it is, but I think I want to have it at least on a few of the blocks, particularly that are the blocks that are close to this street here. I want to have like extra local access. Not really particularly sure why, but I just want that. Okay, and then you can see we want more residential, so let's get that going. I'm trying to actually right now think of where I want to end this particular episode. Is something I actually recorded basically 2 episodes already, and decided like I didn't really like where I was going with the city, and also I had a terrible microphone, so I've rectified that, and then now I'm redoing it. But in those 2 episodes, I kind of left things in a undone state, I guess. So I want to already start thinking about like what is the end game for this episode. So I think filling out basically as much residential as we need right here, and then filling out this industrial park here. And I don't want to focus too much on detail yet, but I will maybe, you know, put in some trees just to make things a little bit more complete and feel not like this is, you know, part of an ongoing build, but actually like a complete city. You know, I don't want it to feel like a piece that's unfinished of a much larger puzzle. It should feel like it's the full puzzle until we start adding on more later. I don't know if that makes sense, but barely made sense to me. Okay, so yeah, with that in mind, I'm gonna start being very responsive to our demands. Another thing that pays to think of up front is like park areas. I know I mentioned this one. Eventually we'll probably want another one as well. I really wish this did not go here, but it'll make for an interesting jaunt in the road possibly, or just here. But yeah, like leaving open spaces in your grid for parks is important early on in the game, because you don't actually unlock the parks right away. So yeah, it's something you kind of have to think about early on. I want to make sure I have room for some sort of parking in this area. I think where that will be is probably like on one of these corners. So I'll go ahead and wish I knew what the size of the parking was, but I'll just start from this side and say that'll be zoned. And then we'll get some sort of parking in here plus additional. And actually I definitely want to have some commercial options here as well. And you'll notice too, I'm not like putting alleys here because I don't think it's necessary for every street to have an alley. this one is particularly targeted. These ones I'm putting in because it's, you know, the founding of the city, and I want to have at least 2 alleys going up and down here to just to, you know, give more space for. Oh no. No. Okay, so good thing I was talking for so long, because my auto saved, I think, pretty much everything except for this little commercial area here and that industrial. But yeah, just had a crash. That's fine. Let's keep going. So I know I mentioned earlier, like, I want to have things feel complete, and this road is just gonna kind of live here and this road, because I don't want to connect it up because it doesn't make sense right now. Yeah, I don't know how to reconcile with that with the comment I made earlier. I guess it's just hypocritical, but that's something I'll get over at some point, I guess. Yeah, so again, just gonna continue responding to the demand. I actually forgot like exactly what I was doing for that crash. I was talking about alleys and like arbitrarily making them here. And I know for a fact, having kind of played through this a little bit already, this area here is not really big enough for the industry. Thankfully, the wind is conducive to us putting additional industry here, and the future rail line, like that just kind of all synergizes pretty well. So in the future, it'll probably expand that direction. For now, I think we can get away with what we have just right here. And I typically don't really care like where these houses spawn in, like whether they're on Holly Street or Poplar Street. I don't care about the directionality of their driveways, as long as it's, you know, not here on this specific alleyway. Something that I'm always thinking about with City Skylines is where like having commercial districts be placed in close proximity of residential, so that like everybody could walk to get groceries, for example. And I think just like personal experience, I think maybe 5 blocks is about what you'd be about what you would want to walk to get to a grocery store and like actually do it. Up to maybe 10 blocks. Like I think people would still do that, but it's, you know, you wouldn't necessarily fault someone for not wanting to walk 10 blocks to go get groceries. So, you know, that's why here, this kind of covers this whole area. And I next would be considering putting some commercial in this sort of an area, particularly close to where this is going to be, so that, you know, you're kind of within 5 blocks, no matter where you are. That is like completely arbitrary. There's no, other than like personal experience, there's no like data backing that up. There might actually be like better optimums for that, but kind of when I'm playing, that's what I'm thinking about, is that general rule of thumb. Right, and then you can already see the demand still ticking up for residents, so that will just keep on expanding our grid out until we get Tiny Village. Look at that. Gives us actually, Tiny Village gives loan limit. Don't want to take that if I can avoid it. Map tiles, city budget, taxation, city statistics, service budgets. Not too much in here that we need to care too much about. I'm gonna not overbuild like healthcare, death care, garbage management, all that stuff until I know for a fact I need it. Like once I'm getting the icons popping up that people are mad about it, just because that will drain your budget very quickly. So ask me how I know that. I don't know why it does that sometimes. It's very interesting. Like, what is that? What's going on there? Okay, I think that was more of a me issue than anything. We already get the medium density. I don't know about actually putting that in yet. If I was gonna put it in, I'd put it in on this road here. And actually, you know, I'll play the game. I'll play the game. I'll put in some medium density. I'll just put it right. One of the things I also kind of like to do sometimes with these is do like something like this, where you get maybe that, and then this, so that you get a little square in the corners and it looks a little bit nicer. This one I'm going to do a little bit differently like that. For now, I'm not going to split, like use EU and NA. I'm just going to use NA for now. That goes for everything at the moment. I'll start mixing it in probably if I redevelop, but for now I'm not like too concerned with that. Okay, so that is gonna be the extent of medium density I'll do for now. Then I want to start filling out more homes here. And I think this point here, so when this road curves is when I'll stop using the alleys. Not much of a reason for that other than like, you know, I don't want to put alleys on a curved road, I guess. Again, completely arbitrary, but it somewhat works in this case, I guess. So we'll do that. Okay, so now I have like some visual cue that I want to put an alleyway here. And actually, I'm thinking about maybe this one. Yeah, that one will be open for like park space or school or whatever I want to put in there. I'm going to leave that block open for future development. And another thing I want to do is make sure I'm not getting too close to this hill here, because I know that I want to put a freeway there at some point to get over to the East Bay here, which is where Oakland is, with a bridge. And that's a similar bridge that exists in San Francisco now. So I don't want to develop too much on this hill. But the only issue is that's like a long ways away, so we'll see how that goes. But at least in the early stages, I want to keep this hill relatively undeveloped, so that's going to be kind of in this little wedge here. We'll keep kind of everything here, and even I consider like the area leading up should not be too developed, but that's a lot of foresight that I don't know if I'm too concerned about. Because like realistically, you wouldn't really be building for that. You wouldn't know how big this city's going to be. You wouldn't know if you need a connection here. So you would just build with what you have. I'll try to mix in a little bit of both of those ideologies here. Cool, so we're still rocking and rolling. I'm going to get a little bit more industrial in. I don't want to go too far over with this. In a previous build, I put a power plant here. I think I'm going to do that again. It just kind of makes sense to have here. There's like water nearby. This is salt water, so I don't know how good that is for using in power plants. But I do know you need like water sources nearby, so I'm going to reserve that area for that use. So we'll continue some of our industrial here. And you notice I'm kind of like putting it as far back in this area as possible, kind of close to this highway. Very tempted to buy this tile. I really wish I didn't. When I customized the map, I gave this tile. I wish I would have just left it as that one. Too late now. How much does it cost? It costs $36,000 and $20,000 a month. What do we got going with that? Those are monthly expenses. We do have the ability for that, but I don't want to. Like, I know that services are gonna shoot through the roof pretty soon, so and And actually, you know, let's think about that too. Where's our medical clinic gonna be? I do know I want a small one. I think maybe right here, this like kind of off this main road. It can help us transition away from commercial. Start buffering our industrial possibly. So I'll leave some space here for that. Death care. I don't want a cemetery. These are huge, just too big for a city of this size. Unfortunately, it's a nice enough asset, but too big. Okay, so I've kind of got a plan going forward. So I will just keep to my zoning strategy here. Yeah, and you can see now we're waiting for hearse. One of the things I do usually is I try to unlock this crematorium. Like basically that's the first unlock I get every time because yeah, like I said, this cemetery is too big. Crematorium is still large, but you know, reasonably large, not huge. I think where this will go. We'll go here. And actually, I'm gonna move this, spend some money. I want it to be here so it's closer to the highway. A little bit less land value there. And even now that I'm thinking about it, I think I want it on this side. I'm spending too much money on this. Oof, that actually does hurt. You know what? I'm sticking with it. Because I already did, like, no. I just want it here. And there'll be no alley. Yeah. Land value there is like a little bit lower. I know I mentioned this was like high value land, but I think really more by the intersection that matters because that's where people are coming in. Right here is not so much, but yeah, intersection, yeah. Yeah, I wish I had highways so I could put a nice little junction there, but that's okay. Okay, so they should start getting served. That's what I mentioned, like not overbuilding death care capacity before we really need to. You know, there's not much purpose for it now. Well, rather medical care capacity and recycling, because I think we can import at least garbage management, and it's cheaper than the facility at the beginning because your city's not big enough, is my experience. You save a lot of money doing that. Yeah, let's just detail it up a little bit with some trees, basic detailing. And man, it's so hard not to buy this tile. Like I just want to buy it so bad, but I'm gonna leave it for a little bit. Okay, so for trees, I usually try to do just like mixture of some of just like the more plain looking trees. Like I don't really like how this alder looks. Don't really like how the chestnut looks that much. Don't really need palm trees for this style of detailing. So I go with, yeah, like pine, oak, birch, spruce, sometimes apple tree, but then the linden and the poplar. Those are like my faves. Okay, but we'll start with some oaks. And I usually try to start with like the big trees first and then fill it out with smaller trees. Go down there, and I never do elderly. I let them grow in a little bit. Let's delete this for visibility reasons, so we get kind of like a nice visibility through there. And I can already see we are in need of some industrial, so I will extend these out, but only till just before the highway. And then we'll start filling out this area a little bit, like that. Like this. Start filling out the industrial park just a bit more. Getting close to our next milestone. Yeah, you can see a small coal power plant fits really well there. So that's what I'm going to put there eventually. Not now. Don't need it yet, but that'll essentially, like, this area will be well serviced by a power plant of that size. So that's the plan there. Yeah, this is kind of the point where I don't know what level of detail to add, because like this is just barren open space. I wish there was more like trees maybe there that I could, you know, have as detail, but yeah, for now, I guess it just kind of looks a little bit empty. Let's check our budget. So you can already see with just that crematorium how much it does for our budget. And we will lower that right on down, because that's always the big one, is healthcare at the beginning. You can see that our demands are through the roof. Let's make sure we got jobs. Let's get some more housing in. Where does that go? I think, yeah, once we get further over here, we'll say there's going to be commercial here. So I think I'm just going to start with this block over here. But I'm pretty confident will be some form of residential. Oh, man, I missed. Sorry. There you go. And we can now check back here, like what this corner looks like. I don't actually love how it looks with the American style. And I really wish they had corner buildings for this that made more sense. I'll often pair it with a, yeah, see like how this building juts out like that is kind of funky, but yeah, maybe I don't love it, but you get kind of like these corners. That's what the idea is. I'm going for, is just having a corner, but if you pair it with where is it, the mixed housing does have corner buildings, so sometimes I'll pair the mixed housing with the row housing to get like a good corner look. And also it helps just having some commercial available as well. So I can kind of see that the amount of commercial we have is fine. And I'm gonna fill out then this. And I think we'll just compare what doing this looks like versus the other method. And yeah, just not a fan of having to put in so much medium density just like right away, but sure, game. And fill that out. Then here, I think we'll do like a corner store there. That should be good. And then we can start filling out again our alleyways all the way through here. Almost have the next milestone of small village. And then I'll start thinking about where to leave things off. Gonna plop down a little bit more industrial. And at this point, just waiting for small village. There we go, small village. Okay, so what that unlocks for us is schooling, and that's something I'll think about next episode. It really won't take that long, but I do want to spend maybe a little bit of time placing it and detailing it to whatever degree I have available now, which is mostly just community landscaping. And I did notice as well that we had this pop up while we were waiting for the small village milestone. So I'm going to put that in, and that'll kind of be the capstone of what we've done so far. And just before I do that, I will actually kind of fill out this space here up until there. Actually, no, because I think this is more conducive to commercial because of its prominence here. So I will leave that. But I do want to get that in. Yeah, you can see like how these two blocks differ and how they look. Like, yeah. I'm jury's still out on that one, I suppose. I think I would have liked it more. They were all facing here, and I may actually just do that. So what I'm talking about is I want them actually to face that direction so that this block here is a little bit more uniform on Grove Street. And the other thing I want to do is let's rename this from Grove Street to Market Street, and that's, you know, an homage to Market Street in San Francisco. Okay, back to the plan. So I know I want to put this small medical clinic in, and I think I want to put it about here, but I want to have it, give it its own alleyway. And actually I want to put it a little bit over, and I'll tell you the reason why once I build the road. I want to give it its own, yeah, its own dedicated alleyway here. I'm just trying to think where exactly I want to put that. I think we'll give it this much space, and I won't go all the way through. Yeah, so the reason I doing that is in the future, I'll probably put a little bit of parking here, and that may actually be possible now. Parking is something I like to unlock early as well. It's roads or parking areas. Okay, so we can get parking areas. Just so I can start placing. I don't like to have that empty space. We can either put a tiny one, or we can put one of these ones, and I think I'll go with one of these ones. And then what I'm going to do is shorten that road up a little bit. There. Okay, so you can see, I mean, not a whole lot going into that, but just putting a little bit of extra like thought into, you know, having a parking lot, and then also having its own dedicated lane here, I think will help in the long run. And this I don't think has, yeah, there's no upgrades, so that is where it goes. You know, that's not going to change at any point. Okay, and then here I know that I'm not doing alleys anymore because of this curve, so just gonna go like that, get some houses in here. And let me get back to why I put this here. I put this here because I think it's a good buffer between this area and then our industrial area here. So industrial could come out all the way over here, and I don't think it'll disrupt too much this residential, and we could have even commercial here or other city services in this area. So I'm going to make this sort of a city service area in general. Really don't like what's going on here. Think about that later. But yeah, this is going to be a city service area, and that's going to act as a buffer between residential and our industrial. So that's the thinking behind that. That's why I moved it out one additional block. And I'm going to take a quick look at the budget. Since we set that to 50%, how we're doing it, I think that's okay. Water and sewage, I'm not sure how we're positive there. Bees. Interesting. Okay. Electricity, now you can see we're spending 48,000 on imports, so I can start thinking about like, okay, how much does this cost? 5,000 to 45,000 a month. So I think actually it makes sense to put this in. Is that crazy? Because we'll be exporting a lot. I guess the other thing is not being accounted for in this 5,000 to 45,000, I believe, is the upkeep per worker. So I'm not, I'll hold off on that for now. But even just putting in one of these would help quite a bit. I just don't, yeah, not sure how much sense putting this in makes if I'm just gonna delete it later. Like if I put in windmills, I want to think of it more as a build, like I'm building a wind farm, wind energy farm, versus like just plopping one of these down. It doesn't really, I don't know, doesn't appeal to me, I guess. Okay, and I did unlock parking, so I'm gonna complete at least like round out these areas here with some parking. I'm kind of putting like way too much thought into this. It doesn't matter that much. And since we built this street, you know, why not extend it all the way through? Hate that. Why does that happen, City Skylines? Tool is almost perfect, actually. Like, I gotta give it credit where it's due. Like, the road tools are kind of crazy. How good they are compared to PS1, at least. Like, doing things like this, just going straight through. I can't even imagine not being able to do that anymore, actually. You'll see me put in these stubs as well. That's just for naming. Otherwise, they get kind of janky. And you can actually now see like why I've opted to get rid of alleys here is because you get these kind of funky things here, and I don't want to just don't want to deal with that. Yeah, you get all sorts of strange things happening with City Skylines roads. Quite interesting. Like, you know, why does that happen? No idea. Sure, whatever. Oh, like, and then this? Like, what is going on here? There we go. Fixed it. Did not fix it for them, unfortunately. Just delete it. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh man. It is not going well for folks over here. Imagine building your house and then boom. Wrecked. Destroyed. Don't know why it's doing that. And I'm just gonna live with whatever's happening here. There we go. Just gotta not think about it. Easy. Yeah, our industrial park is already kind of filling up. And one last look at city services and what's costing us a lot of money. Yeah, it is starting to be the electricity. I think I'll place that in the next episode and try to manage that a little bit. Garbage, hopefully we're fine for now. And I think education, I really probably just a small elementary school is what I'll stick with for now. But elementary school, you got to get on top of. So there's a lot of elementary students in this game. So it's can be kind of difficult to cover. I think the last thing actually that I want to do is just have kind of like a unique piece in here. Have a nice water tower. You see like water towers, you know, entering into cities sometimes. So maybe just like plopping one of those in somewhere around here and making a little piece out of it. So I think just extend this road out. Well, it can't. Oh man, why? Look what I've done here. I have to move this thing again. Yeah, so I can actually extend that road in the future. Okay, and then this is going to extend out. And that's where our water tower will be. Just so there's some access to it. But right there, so we could get an alley back here and not have to worry about it. This doesn't need a road per se, but we'll give it a little path just for access. And let's connect up. And this should help our budget a tiny bit. is it doing that? Sewage pipe not connected. It should be. That is fixed. That's okay. I don't love having that go under there, but that's okay. It's a little bit of redundancy, and redundancy is always a good thing. And let's make this a little bit more feature and get rid of some of these taller trees around that oak. Get rid of this one, get rid of this one. And then as you're coming in, I also would like you to be able to kind of see that. So I think that'll do. Yeah, so when you're coming in, you can probably just peep that there, and we'll even get rid of some of these ones maybe, so that you could theoretically see it coming in on the highway. Cool. So that should, let's see if that had some, I don't know what my water spend was before, but we should have, yeah, we're exporting a little bit. So hopefully that helps out our budget just a tad. We're not too far off here. What we're going to need to do for the next episode is expand our residential out this way, especially in here, to increase the taxable income, or to increase the tax income that we have. And that will hopefully help our, well, it will help our budget issues. And I think I'm going to leave it here, despite what I said earlier about wanting to have it be a little bit more finished. But I guess my excuse for that is that cities are never really finished. They're always kind of ongoing. And that probably is really contradicting what I said earlier about having like more complete builds. But I'm going to roll with it. So for the next episode, what I'll focus on is getting city services up to snuff. That'll be education first, and then as needed, things like garbage management, and then police and fire will probably be up next too once we unlock those, but I'm going to leave those for as long as possible. And then the other thing I want to do is just fill out more residential and kind of expand the city, and then start adding more detailing, like where we have these trees, but add that more comprehensively around the space. One of the reasons I wasn't doing that is because I didn't have this tile over here. So yeah, unlocking that, and then starting to think about what we'll do with this side of Market Street, which will be a little bit different than what's going on this side with the grid. And that's because we're approaching this hill over here. So we'll figure that out next time. For now, I'm going to leave it there. And I want to say thank you to anyone who watched any portion of this video, but especially if you made it this far. I really appreciate that. And any comments you have, particularly just like feedback on the video, what I could do better, any tips you have, is going to be immensely helpful, since yeah, video editing and just making videos on YouTube in general is new for me. So anything you have is very much welcome. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.